Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are on this fine planet. This is my first live, so bear with me. Let's see what we're doing here. As you know, this is Para coming at you live in effect right now. See what is hitting folk. See what's going on in these YouTube streets. You know, I'm just bringing this up just to have it ready, just in case I need to look up something. But here we go. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hold on. Let me take this down. Check my levels. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. So, yeah. What's going on, fine people? I think I have two people in here now. So let's see what happens in the next 5 to 6 minutes to see if people come. I know I have my man, Somali against Pan Africanism in the house. What's going on? One of my supporters, a gentleman who or a gentlewoman. I don't know your gender. I know you're a guy because I think you came on someone else's live stream recently. And yeah, your encouragement led me to this destination. Excuse me, drinking my lemon water. But yeah, man. So, what is a live stream about? I really don't know. This is just an introduction. I really am new to this. I said this in my last video and the video prior to that video. I reluctantly joined YouTube in this capacity. I mean, I'm a man of very few words usually. You know, I like to be action based. That's how I am. That's why I procrastinated for so long with doing a live. If you noticed, my man Somali against Pan Africanism, I'll set a time to do a live, but then I forget. I go out after work, go to the gym, and I forget, man. And and then I sometimes I come home and work on projects, or sometimes I listen to other people's live streams. For example, I think Bitter Truth is live right now, so I'm missing out on his live stream right now. So I don't know what topic. Why don't you throw a topic at me and let's see what's going on? Thank you, Somali against Pan Africanism. Hopefully my voice can aid somebody somewhere somehow. Who knows? Once you throw a thought into the universe, or once you put yourself out into the universe, which is the internet, as of right now, anything can happen. So you never know. So hopefully, my voice is useful to everyone who's listened to me. I haven't hit the triple digits in views or anything, or if I don't know if I'll hit thousands of listeners. But for the few who do come through, thank you. And that's it really. What I'll do actually, once you throw me a topic or anything, Mr. Somali against Pan Africanism, just throw me a topic and I'll riff off of that topic from what I know to the best of my knowledge. And I may use Google as an aid if I don't know something, because I don't like to speak out my ass about things I don't know. We all have done it either purposely or accidentally. Either way, but as this progresses, I'll throw a link if anybody wants to come up. Only have two viewers, two watchers right now. But hey, those are two of the true blue. So let me read your comment. Good topic. Do sisters have unrealistic expectations when it comes to dating? Ebony Williams' interview with Miss Van Zant. Oh, was horrible. Oh man, that girl. Yeah, I saw that. Let's play that real quick. That was, oh God. Let me see. Where is that window now? Okay. I need there you go. Hold on. Bring that up real quick. I'll play that and then I'll I'll share my thoughts. Thank you for the alley-oop, my man. That video, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. Come on, man. Damn computer. Okay. So I'm about 50 years old. Now, okay, here we go. But yeah, comment, subscribe, share. Okay. Oh, here we go. Came up right away. Let's see. Oh man, I think I can't find the clip. Where's the clip? I just want the clip. I can only. Oh, here we go. Let's do this. So, cue it up. Cue it up for the barbecue. Not gonna roast a young lady too much. It is what it is. She has her right to her preferences. But let's play this video. Okay. Unmute it. Let's look at this. Please, let's enjoy.
I know that you've said that you cannot teach a man or tell a man how to be a man. So I will not ask you to indict men in this question. But I do want you to speak, Ayanla, to how women need to, position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned.
I have to pause it. Does she really have to throw that in there? Like, we know you're sexually liberated, okay? So you want to be a whore. Okay, let's go. Sorry.
To protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. So we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it, if he owns the bus.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus.
Okay. So we got it. We saw her reaction. We saw her screw face to, Ayanla asking if she would date a bus driver. We saw it. My opinion is this. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Hello. Let's do this. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, I'm coming through. So, yeah, you saw her face. She had a screw face. She put on the stank face. What can I say? I could say this. Yes, women, period, have unrealistic expectations of men today. That's just a fact, It's just a fact. And honestly, based on my experience, what I've seen in this time I've been on this earth, she may not want to date a bus driver, but she doesn't know that a bus driver can make an easy 80, 90 a year. For her who wants to be a boss bee, or I'll just say it, a boss bitch, she may make a cool 150 to 200. But how much of that money does she invest and save? We don't know. The statistics are in. Even with the Black woman's high earning power, she doesn't have much in savings and assets. But that bus driver may not have student loans to pay back. He may not have a circle of friends that he has to keep up with, or keep up with the Joneses, as they say. He may not have a whole family of people looking to him as the breadwinner who's here to pay mama's rent and auntie's light bill. So he may save more than she saves, even though she makes a lot more money. And that's what I've seen in real life. And a lot of these career women, particularly the millennials, they're coming into this game without much experience, especially the ones who come from, less than savory backgrounds. That's not to say anything about anyone, but I've met these women, and they've gone to college, they've gotten PhDs, but they grew up poor. Their parents were poor, and their circle or their network was that element, the poor element. So they may not know career patterns. And one of the career patterns I've seen in real life is, yes, these women make a lot of money, but then their career tapers off as they get older. So they may make 120, 150 for a good 8 to 10 years. But then once they get in their 40s, they may be getting knocked back down to 60 and 80. But see, their earnings or their necessities are still based on that 120, 150. So they're struggling. And I've seen this personally. So this is all subjective. And for this girl, let's look this girl up. Because I saw this video and I didn't do any type of background check on her. So Ebony K. Williams, I wonder if that K stands for Keisha. Let's see. Where is her work up? Where's her LinkedIn? Oh, okay. Where is it? Oh, man. Okay. Oh, there we go. So here she goes. Ebony K. Williams, host and executive producer. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, so this is her. This is the right page and everything. So let's exit out of that. Okay, so she has a long essay in the beginning. Okay, let's just go to experience. Okay, she's currently a host, executive producer, holding court with Ebony K. Williams. Okay. Wait, okay. Okay, so let's go to her education. Okay, so she went to UNC Chapel Hill, a communications degree. Oh, God. So, okay, so here we go. So this lady got a communications degree in African studies. I've seen this a million times over. And then I can remember a lot of women, particularly, going to school wanting to become like doctors, lawyers, and the such, and they couldn't major in stuff like psychology or business or science or anything. So they choose communications and African studies. Many times that does work out to them, because we see she was admitted to Loyola University in New Orleans, not in Chicago. And she got her JD. Okay, let's go through her experience. She's a legal clerk. That they don't make money. They make like 40 to 50. Civil attorney. Okay, that's not. and she did that for less than a year. She was a legal clerk for 2 years. So that means she made $100,000 over that 2 years, which was ate up by her expenses. She was a public defender. They really don't get paid, and she was only there for 1 year. 1 year. Okay. And what state is this? Okay. Hold on one second. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Let's Google this. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is what I found. So over that 1 year, she made 46,000 to 71,000 in that 1 year. And this is from salary.com. I don't really trust Glassdoor because their numbers are way off for almost every job. Salary.com is more realistic. So that's how much she made. So she's saying she won't date a bus driver, but one of her first jobs didn't pay her, it paid her less than a bus driver. Let's look up a bus driver. Let's look up a bus driver in a major city, New York. See, they make $39,000 to $62,000. And I have a relative who drives for public transportation. He makes like 40 to 50. Okay. So she's telling a man to make more than her, even though she didn't make that much not too long ago. Come on. Okay, let's bring her LinkedIn back up. Actually, let's do this. Let's do this. This is something that's, look this up. Hold on one second. Bear with me. Let's. Ebony Williams. Okay, here we go. Oh man, here we go. Oh man, I can't find her salary on Gov salaries. But yeah, hold on. So let's go through this again. So she was a public defender, then she was a criminal defense attorney for 2 years. They don't make a lot of money. Correspondent, they don't make money. We all know this. Correspondent means you're a contract worker or part-time worker. Yeah, she is another Democrat bum because now that I'm looking at her, I remember her from Joe Budden's show. What was the name of it? I think it was called Culture or something. The Culture or whatever. It was on Revolt. And if it's on Revolt, that means she didn't get paid shit. Puffy is notoriously known for not paying people a goddamn thing. So, yeah. But yeah, let's get back to her gig. So this is 1 year as a correspondent. That's not a lot of money. She's an anchor and political legal analyst. That's not a lot of money. That's one thing a lot of people don't know about people on the news or on the TV news channels. They don't pay them a lot of money. I knew a girl whose mother was an executive producer for a major TV station in the Bay, and she didn't make a lot of money. She didn't make shit. She would confide in us, like telling us like what she goes through. I'll say, so she's a cast member on Real Housewives of New York City. We all know reality TV and pay shit. We all know this. Okay, here we go. This is the show. State of the Culture. There we go. She's a host and executive producer, Revolt Black News, and co-host State of the Culture. She was there for 4 years. Puffy doesn't pay shit, at least not commensurate with her pedigree. You know, for like Remy Ma and Joe Budden and the other guy Jinx who was on the show, that's most likely good money when you look at the fact that they didn't invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in their education. So she didn't get paid shit. And then she was a host for Dark Nights in the City on Oprah. I don't know Oprah's pay scale. We all know about Puff. Puff doesn't pay shit. But she was only there for 1 year. Now she works for the Griot. The Griot is really like a cemetery for Black media. That's all it is. She's a guest host for The View. She didn't make money doing that. And now she's a host and executive producer holding court with Ebony K. Williams. She may make some money doing that. Who knows? If she's an executive producer, they get paid to a degree. It all depends on ratings and, likability. And that's it. So while she's sitting here and saying she won't date a bus driver, she makes no sense. If anything, if she dates a bus driver and he doesn't own a bus, then why not stand by that man and maybe help him buy a bus? Because there's a way to make money driving buses, especially on the East Coast. And I think it's on the West Coast now, like Megabus. And I remember when I first moved back to New York, they had some I forgot the name of it, like Wing Fung bus lines. He could start his own bus transporting people between cities. Who knows? But let's just stay on topic. My feelings on that video is this. She's trying to live out a fantasy. And that's all it is. And if you want to chime in, I'm going to put the link right in the chat. Let me see if it shows up in the other screen. No, it did not show up. So here we go. Oh, damn. Oh, there we go. It showed up in the chat. So yeah. So what else did you say, Somali? In Chicago, starting off, bus drivers make $60 a year. Yeah, she's from the South, and that's another thing that I've mentioned in other videos. We have to factor in regionalism when it comes to this thing we're doing in Black America, trying to sort out things and figure out, male and female relationships and the such. And I think the South is now where places like New York and San Francisco were in the late 90s, early 2000s, because, these conversations are old to me because that's where I lived. They're old to me. So for the people in the South, now they're experiencing, these Black women going to school practically for free, given free housing, given free everything, and they're being undergirded by our system. And that's just a reality. And the South is now at that point where they'll start to have rent, not start, because I have friends in the South and they tell me their rent's like $1,600. A long time ago, that would have never happened in the South. In the South, back in the days, like mid 2000s, 2010s, the rent was like $800, $600. But now they reached that point where they're charging 1,500, 1,600. And in places like New York and San Francisco, that's old news. Now they're charging 3,000 for an apartment in places like San Francisco and New York. So when it comes down to like her view, it's kind of skewed because she's also young. She may be what, 32, 33, maybe. She grew up in a, in the ghetto fabulous era where we all thought when we watched some of the videos a long time ago, we didn't know that that studio apartment in Soho was rented. We actually thought Christopher Williams lived in something comparable to the studio in this video. I know I just dated myself. Christopher Williams was a singer, song called Wake Me If I'm Dreaming or something. But bottom line is a lot of videos showed this glamorous life that's not a reality for most people. That's regardless of race or anything. They're just not a reality because where these homes are located, most people can't afford to live there. Like if you go, like when I go to the city, and if I'm in a ritzy area and I see somebody who actually lives there, yes, this person has money, because it's not even sometimes it's not even a cost of living there. You have to go through certain like background checks. They don't let just anybody live in these buildings. That's just a reality. So, and with that comes a really fine-tooth comb search of your financial status or your finances. And if you don't have, like, we all see the rental applications or, oh, hold on. Let me bring somebody up. I tame after dumbass. Hold on, who is this? I'm gonna bring you up. Let's see what's happening. Let's go.
Hey,
Look,
OG, it's me,
hold
Somali.
on, hold on 1 second. Let me lower myself, or let me. There we go. So, oh, this is Somalia against Pan Africanism.
Yes, sir. How are you
Hey,
doing?
I'm good. How are you? You have a lot of like static and feedback. Can you do something about that?
Okay, hold
If
up.
not,
Am I better now?
yeah, we'll make do. You're my first caller. Thank you, my inaugural caller. Thank you for calling up, man. If it wasn't for you, I maybe not have. I wouldn't have started this channel. Maybe you've been really a source of encouragement. Thank you, sir.
No problem, OG. Your voice is very needed, especially with this rise of mass black immigrant migration, also
Hmm.
out the South, the Midwest, out just everywhere. And you're seeing a lot of black immigrants take control of black American culture. And I feel like your voice, because you understand how the game works, unlike a lot of folks, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Are you in America or are you in Somalia right now?
Oh, no, no. I was born and raised in Canada,
Oh,
but
you're in Canada.
yeah, but I have been to the States. I've been to Minneapolis, Dallas, and Atlanta. So,
You've been to Atlanta and Dallas. Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, that's why you know what I'm talking about when I mentioned Atlanta. And I was supposed to go to Dallas like a year or two ago, but the pandemic hit. Yeah, so you know what I was talking about because I went to Atlanta and yeah, it was quite a few Africans and Caribbeans, and it's not a problem. In fact, when my cousin lives in Atlanta, his neighbor is Jamaican,
right.
so it's not like a shoot. My family, my father, at least two people on my father's side, my Panamanian side, they live in Atlanta. They've been down there forever. So I know how migratory patterns work. And I know you remember me from Mouthy Megan's channel, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what I was trying to express to them. I wasn't trying to be a fearmonger or anything, but I see what's happening as it, as things happen or as people spread, because a lot of Black immigrants in the New York tri-state area, they may not be able to afford to stay here, no matter how many jobs they try to, retain or how many hours they work. They just can't afford to stay here. So they'll have to go somewhere else. And it's happening in New York right now. I've seen quite a few people like go to places like Virginia and North Carolina.
Yeah, because when I was listening to you, I didn't think of it as any fear mongering because it's stuff that I'm seeing as well. But I don't know why many Black Americans are not taking heed. Like, it's like if you try to tell them, I'm like, hey man, listen, as a Black immigrant, this is what's going on. They kind of like brush you off like you're lying or you're over exaggerating. But this is a very serious issue.
Yes.
Not with Black immigrants, but with other families too, especially with Indian and Hispanics.
Wait, I didn't hear the last part. Can you repeat the last part?
And I just said that also Indians and Hispanics are.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what I stress to people. I'm not gonna sit here and single out Black immigrants. Okay, I grew up with them. I am half one of them. It's really a thing where that's what America created after the Emancipation Proclamation. After they freed the slaves, you saw a spike in immigration. It was just like a huge spike. But think about that spike, it tapered off once they fixed up Europe and got them on track. But with all these other immigrants, it seems like they're not going to stop the spike. It's just going to keep going up and up and up until they fix their problems back home. And I'm not saying that the immigrants that are here are charged with or responsible for fixing their problems back home, which they should, but they're not charged with it. But they if they don't fix what's going on back home, or if nothing changes back home, then they'll continue to come here. And I first really started to notice that with the Caribbeans, because the Caribbeans came here like in the 80s and 90s and like in mass, and they've yet to stop coming here. I had a coworker whose mother moved here. He was already here, and then his mother moved here. And I didn't say anything to him, but in my head, I said to myself, I can understand you guys coming here in the 80s and 90s because there was a lot of like civil unrest over there, but you're still coming here in significant numbers. And hey, people could do what they want, but I just know that this is what I would tell people who think I'm lying or whatever. We never thought Brooklyn would be the Brooklyn of today. Like, as Black Americans in Brooklyn, we never thought we would be like the severe minority, or in New York, period. We never thought it would get to this point, but it has gotten to this point. And the reason it got to this point is because of the response we had at that time, which is the response I've gotten from people like Maldy Megan and that other guy, BSIA.
You're right.
Yeah, they're like, no, it can't happen here. I'm like, no, it can happen there. And I saw it happen. I've seen it happen. I'm seeing it happen right now before my eyes, in New York, because now, there's a lot of African immigrants coming and a lot of Hispanic, of course. Like, the Hispanic people are here where I live, but I was on this one street where I never saw this when I first moved here, but I never saw day workers on the street. But after, say that again?
Wow.
Yeah. I never saw day workers on the street, but after the whole Texas bus situation, or where they bus people from New York, I saw them in the city, but they could blend in with other, Hispanics, because there's a lot of Hispanics in New York. But where I live it's a predominantly Black area. So now that they've, moved out of the city, now they're in my neighborhood, and yeah, they're just standing on a corner looking for work. And I never saw that.
But I just wanted to ask you, why does New York get all of the blame, though? But
So wait, hold on, say that again.
why does New York get all of the blame? Because in FBA Twitter spaces, they always say, "Oh, it's you, FBA New Yorkers, you caused all of this. It's your fault. All the tethers are from New York." I'm like, that's not true. There's a lot of in the DMV. You're seeing in South Florida. now in Atlanta, in Texas. I'm like, it's not just one place anymore.
No, it's not one place at all. And I said that in my last video. The vast, the one I dropped some video about, you know, in her video,
Your mic is kind of staticky.
she mentioned you.
OG, I think you need to fix your mic.
Hello?
Yeah. I can hear you now.
Okay. So the Bronx is the launch pad for a lot of immigrants. And and like I said, I'm not singling out one group. It's just immigrants, period, because Polo, the clothing company.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So Ralph Lauren is like a first generation immigrant, and he grew up in the Bronx. You get what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir. Yeah.
it's always been a launch pad. Oh, not always, but since the Emancipation Proclamation, or ever since they started this whole immigrant hustle where they just flood us with immigrants, the Bronx has always been ground zero for the new group because it's a lower cost of living. It's a smaller space. I think it's the smallest borough, I believe. If it's not the smallest, it's the second to smallest compared to like Staten Island. Nah, the Bronx is the smallest. So it's a small space. So you could cram a lot of people in this one small space, and you can not overcharge them for rent and things like food. Like if I want to eat out in the Bronx, it's nothing compared to if I want to eat out in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And that's like anywhere in Manhattan's more expensive to eat than the Bronx. So to get back to my point, the reason they focus on New York is because of the hustle that they have going on here. And yes, it does start there. And think about it. This is something I think I've neglected to mention. And the things I say, it comes from reading and documentaries and stuff like that. So this is something anybody could look up. The New Orleans was once a major point of entry for a lot of immigrants, more than New York at times. So
Really?
yeah, New Orleans like a major that's why the culture was so diverse in a way, is because they always had a new people coming there to experience life. So, and it's not just New Orleans. Is There was a port in Virginia, I forgot the name of it. It was a major entry point. So New York was really a creation. Ellis Island was a creation. And when you think about it logistically, it makes sense because you have an island that's separated from the city. You could quarantine them for a certain amount of time. Like there was this disease, I forgot what it's called, typhus. Yeah, typhus. And typhus was not deadly, but it could be deadly. So you could quarantine them and make sure they don't have any communicable diseases. And then you could just bring them over to the main city, which will be, the ferry building, and then let them, figure out their life in America. So logistically, it makes sense, but it's become like a recurring thing. It hasn't changed since they created this whole immigrant struggle in New York hustle, because Black Americans have been here in New York forever. Even after they ended slavery in New York. Oh, okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so even when they ended slavery in New York, we didn't leave. We left like Manhattan and the major cities, but Brooklyn was a suburb at one time. Long Island, Hempstead is still a suburb, but we went out to Long Island, or we went a little further north to Westchester County. So we've always been here, but the whole immigrant hustle was created so they can have an excuse to keep it going, because New York just that's the image everyone has now, when that's not how New York was really built. New York wasn't just built by immigrants. It just wasn't. But that's I hope hopefully I answered your question. That's why they get a bad rap.
Yeah. But I always wanted to just ask you, have you done a review on it was Tariq versus some Italian guy, and they were talking about the history of New York City and
Oh yeah, I
like
wanted to
immigrants
do.
building that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. That video was very popular, maybe like a year ago, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, Tariq really, that's
But
not his
he
will.
really lacked the knowledge of the New York history. He was getting like that Italian guy was getting the best of him.
Yeah. That's why I wanted. That's what I plan to do a review of that video. Because that's not Tariq's wheelhouse. He's from Alabama, Detroit, and California. You know, I really, for me, it's not like I think I'm a specialist, but I grew up in New York, and I would take trips. Like I went to private school, and we would go on trips to different landmarks. So it's like knowing New York has been a part of my life since I was born. And then I've taken courses on New York. It's just something that I did just to fulfill, requirements for school. So yes, Tariq really did like look like he lost that discussion, because what Tariq doesn't know is what that guy is talking about when he says like the Irish and Italians built New York. They really built like how can I put it? They built attractions. They built like, the Empire State Building, you know, or the Chrysler Building. That's a real famous building. They built attractions. And that's pretty much it. A lot of the buildings that are here were built before they came here. And even when they were building these buildings, Black Americans were still helping with building the buildings. Is just because they weren't on that steel beam in the sky smiling with a sandwich doesn't mean the Black American presence wasn't there. They were there. They helped out, and we were
Yeah,
like,
but I always I know you like after Dumbass and so many other black immigrants nowadays are like, oh, you black Americans, you created nothing. It was the white man. The white man did everything. I'm like, my God, who are these idiots, man?
I mean, as a person who grew up hearing that, it's something that's really an immigrant experience. It's not really a Black immigrant thing. All immigrants think that way. And I'm not saying anything bad about immigrants, but they all, and I can't fault them because that's the way America was most likely advertised to them. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Because the thing is, OD, like, I've been to other countries. I've been to Asia. I've been to Europe. A lot of these, like, immigrants that America puts up, like the Indians, different African groups, different Asian groups, like, a lot of these folks are, like, dumb and they're criminals internationally. But when they come to America, I don't know what it is about America. It's propaganda. It's, like, fills these folks' heads up. But I'm like, dude, like, I've been to other lands. You guys are dumb, man.
So you're saying that when you see Indians and Africans in, like, let's say Europe, they're not doing as well as they say they're doing in America.
Asian is doing okay,
Hmm.
but it's nothing spectacular. It's like they're just working class folks. Some are very high up, but most of them are just working class. Some are poor, some live in the hood. I'm like, these folks are not these
Okay.
folks are not spectacular at all.
Okay. Well, I have to say I've never been to, Europe to really comment. I could only go off like news reports and, movies and things like that, and books, of course. Um, and yeah, for from what I've seen from the outside looking in, it's like, what it is a lot of times, why I think they succeed in America more than they succeed in Europe is because they don't have a population like us, like Black Americans who are native to this land. They don't have a group to play off of, if that makes sense. Like this the whole model minority hustle. They don't have a native population that's non-white to play off of. So they don't have a way to look good to the teacher. They can't look like the teacher's pet in Europe like they can in America. And that's what I theorize.
Yeah, because I'm up here in Canada, and the thing is with a lot of black immigrants, because we're kind of seen as like one big group. And when it comes to like criminality, it's like us Somalis, the Jamaicans, the Haitians are kind of put as like the face of crime. But
Hmm.
in America, a lot of black immigrants like to be like, oh, it's black Americans are the gangbangers, they're the gangsters, all this stuff. I'm like, dude, like, we don't have a good reputation up here in Canada. And we're kind of like the face of crime, sadly.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I've been to Canada. I can speak on that. Yeah, I've seen it. Okay, they're the hoodlums in Canada. Okay, I mean, what's that?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you.
Yeah, and that's not to put them down, and that's because they're the bottom caste group in Canada. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
when they come to America, they're not the bottom caste group anymore. You know, we're the bottom caste group. So we have to sit here and just eat the trash while they live a good life. But yeah, I even saw a documentary on Somali gangs in Toronto. I
yeah,
think think
very
they became
bad.
blood. What's that?
No, it's very, very bad. It got to the point in like the mid 2000s and in the early 2010s where just
Mhm.
Somali youth are just killing each other, especially down in Edmonton, which is in Western Canada.
Mm.
They were just killing each other. It was very, very sad. I've been to so many funerals.
Yeah,
A lot of family
and
members have been dead.
yeah, in the documentary I saw, it was sad because it seemed like they were young men trying to find their identity in a new land. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And, and that's what I saw in the documentary. Now, when I visited there, I don't know these people, but you just go by appearance. You know, you don't want to stereotype people, but you could tell somebody who's like more street oriented, if that makes sense. But
Right.
so what I surmise, or what I think happened to them in Canada, they're trying to find themselves, and a lot of them, of course, they mimic Black American culture, at least rap music. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
and
sir.
that and that's the closest to what they think they can identify with. So when I saw the documentary, I knew that what that was, because I think every Black American boy in America, if they grow up in, especially in the urban centers or even in the proximity to the urban centers like the suburbs, that's what we go through when we're kids. But the thing about the difference between us and them is the fact that we may have somebody who could pull us back and reel us in. Whereas with them, it seemed like their parents, they don't even know how to direct them because it's new to them. They don't know how to tell their son, hey, don't drive in a car with five people in the car. Don't when you go to this area of the city, be on your best behavior. And that's not to make somebody sound like they're a coon or a punk, but that's just to be safe. So when I watch the documentary, I'm like, oh wow, they're trying to find themselves, and they don't have anybody there to help direct them towards finding themselves. But what I think will happen to, especially because I know what you're talking about, the Somalis in Canada, what I think will happen is, like, in the third and fourth generation, they'll start to teach their kids how to avoid certain pitfalls, hopefully. Because for all the talk about Black Americans and gangs and stuff, there's certain people in that culture who will direct somebody in the neighborhood away from the gang. Like Ron Artest.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, Ron
Same,
Art. What's that?
same as NBA player. The guy played for the Lakers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he grew up in Queensbridge, and Queensbridge is the biggest project in America. Is the biggest in
Yeah.
America. And yeah, so there were people there. They call him Ron Ron. There were people there to tell him, no, you don't need to go do X, Y, and Z. You need to play basketball. you know and let's remove the basketball element, because that's a fraction of the percent of us who make it that far. If in the hood, if somebody sees a smart kid, a studious kid, they'll tell that kid, hey, you don't need to do this. And I'll say this right now for myself. I can remember asking my friend if I could get down, and
Right.
my friend pretty much told me no. And that's not to say I was some type of smart guy, but he knew that wasn't in me most likely. You know, he knew like I'm just looking to do something to make money and make it, easy. And he refused for me to get down. And to this day, I appreciate it because I'm still in communication with him on Facebook. And yeah, so we have somebody there, or we usually have somebody there to redirect us. Whereas when I saw the documentary about the Somali kids, there's no one there yet, not at least not yet. Like I said, in like the third or fourth generation, the kids who are getting into trouble right now will eventually start to steer kids in the right direction in like the third and fourth generation. That's what I think will happen. You know,
Yeah, that's what I think so too. Because when visit the States, I talked
what's
to
it?
a lot of black immigrants, and they, I don't know, man, it's very delusional. That's why I'm very sympathetic towards you guys and the
Mm-hmm.
demonization, because up here in Canada, we get very demonized and blamed for everything.
Let me ask you a question. Is it that Americans get demonized or black Americans specifically?
Black Americans get demonized.
Oh wow. Wow, wow. And honestly, I'll be real with you because the first time I went to Canada was with someone from the Caribbean. And I think that may play a part in it. I don't know about the media up there if they demonize us, but I think that may play a part because Caribbeans love to like demonize us and make themselves look good. I don't know if that could be a part of it because I can remember going there, and it was my friend's cousin who lived there. And yeah, it was more. They didn't say anything to me. They treated me well, but like they have their certain like opinions and feelings about life in America as a Black American.
But and also it kind of came out because there's this young Jamaican half Asian rapper named Pressa, right?
Who?
And Pressa, he's like half Asian, half Jamaican.
Pressa?
Yeah, he's a famous Toronto rapper. He was big up here,
Mm-hmm.
and he got into a little bit of a controversy where he had like tweets about
Mm-hmm.
saying that Black Americans have no culture, they have no identity, and his tweets went viral.
Oh.
He even talked about him, and Black American Twitter just went ham on his ass. And I'm like, dude, why would you even tweet that stuff? Like, if you want to come into that American market, you would need Black American support. So it was very stupid of him to like have those sort of tweets.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Hold on.
Yeah. This is the one. This is the one.
Oh, okay, yeah. Huh. See, I never knew about this. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
and when he was saying, oh, like black this, black that, what's a black? Black is not an identity and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you're stupid, man. Like black has always been an ethnicity and race for Black Americans.
Oh, he dates Coil Ray?
No,
Oh,
he did the broken up.
oh,
Because
okay.
I don't know him, but I know people who know him, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like, his like dad was like deep in the streets up here in Toronto,
You said
and
his what? Wait, say it
his
again.
dad is locked up for life.
Oh, his dad. Okay.
Yeah, and also he has a extensive criminal history in, up here.
Oh
But
wow.
I think it all happened when he was a youth, so they kind of like forgave him, so it's kind of like he restarted his life after 18.
Oh, see, I never knew about this. So he said Americans got no culture. The biggest culture is hip hop. MTFS. I don't know what that is. Don't even know what island they from. They just black like the color. Black square out. Yeah. Niggas be like, I'm black. No, nigga, you built like a motherfucking Nigerian. Black shirt. Okay, man. I mean, I'm gonna look up his music after I get off of here. I never heard of this guy. But the
Yeah.
fact that he did, and the thing about it is, like, just looking at this picture, the optics, like, this girl, Coyle Ray, is the daughter of Benzino.
Oh
And
wow.
so you're familiar with Benzino?
Yeah. He had his beef with Eminem. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. You know Benzino then. Yeah, he's the idiot who, I mean, I'm not gonna talk bad about the man, but he had a beef with Eminem, like he jumped the gun. Like, bottom line is, she's his daughter, and he's half Cape Verdean, half Puerto Rican, I think.
Oh wow. I
So
thought
it's
he
like,
was Black American because he's always talking about. He's always like talking about himself like he is Black American because he always talks about black stuff. Wow, I never
okay.
did.
So let me tell you something. That's why I made that video to Maldy Megan entitled Boston to the DMV is a Pan-African problem. Boston, he's from Boston, right?
Right. I
And
remember.
and Boston has a very strong Pan-African community. They've always had that community. I grew up visiting Boston. A lot of my family lives in Boston, so that's why he speaks that way. It's because I think I said this on Mouthy Megan's live stream, and I told him, like, you live around these people, right? And you want to live your life. You don't want to sit here and argue with people all day, right? So in Boston, they pretty much had to create some type of peace treaty because there was a lot of beef back in the days between Caribbeans and Black Americans, and it wasn't as bad as New York, but it was still there. And so when Benzino was coming up, that was during the whole Black Power movement and all that other stuff. And that's when Black was kind of like Black, and you made exceptions, especially if they showed their loyalty and their devotion. You can't sit here and argue with people all day, especially if they're showing you that they're willing to put everything on the line for the Black agenda. So going back to Benzino, when he's growing up in Boston, that's what he's growing up in. Like, Boston has a Black majority population usually. I could be wrong in some areas, but there's still a heavy Black American presence. I know that because my family's up there. But then you have a lot of you have intermarrying and procreating between both groups. So I got little cousins who are half Puerto Rican, half Caribbean, half this. Oh, I got little cousins that are half African. I think one of them is half Ugandan and the other one's half Cape Verdean. There's a lot of Cape Verdeans in Boston too, because
And
they
also,
came.
you're seeing a lot of Somalis up in Boston as well.
Yeah, there's some Somalis up there. There's some Ugandans too. There's quite a few Ugandans up there. So there's a lot of Africans there. And the thing about Boston that attracts these people to Boston, because the weather is not, similar to their home countries. They go there because of all of the schools. It's
Right.
yeah, and they're the best schools in the world, allegedly. You get what I'm saying? So what wouldn't you go somewhere where the opportunities are plentiful? So
Yeah.
that's why a lot of them go there. That's what I think. And
Yeah.
when they go there, they blend in with the Black American population out that's been there forever. Of course, there's some friction, but like I was speaking to my aunt, because my aunt was really one of the people who was very vocal when I was growing up on how things are changing so rapidly. Because my aunt didn't have a problem with the change, because my mother married a non-Black American, so it's like she's used to being around non-Black Americans, but she just saw the change happening so fast. It was just like overnight. It wasn't something that happened gradually. So when she's seeing this, she's complaining, but eventually, because she worked in the nursing field, and a lot of immigrants work in the nursing field, so she can't sit here and argue with people all day. So she dealt with people on a case-by-case basis. So in Boston, and like, let me get to Benzino, because I used to see him around Boston. Like he's a well-known figure in Boston, so you would see him. So there was never a question of his blackness because of the way he carried himself. But his whole crew, not his whole crew, but quite few people in his crew are like him. Like he has a partner named E. Devious. I think he's Nicaraguan, or he's like Hispanic of some kind. Then he had another partner. I forgot his name. I can't remember it for the life of me. I believe he's Haitian. So a lot of these people, and then I'm gonna delve into this very briefly because I don't like to talk about these dudes. There's an underworld element. There's criminality involved there. There's a lot of criminality involved. And when you deal with the streets, it's really about not getting caught by the police. So, people, like, even though there may be some friction there, people will try to be on their best behavior, if not to simply not get caught by the police. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So for Benzino, he represents that sector. Like he's a part of the streets. So there's a certain code, like no snitching, don't do bad business, things like that. So you could keep things smooth because nobody wants to go around killing people all day. Because I've had cousins up there who've died, due to that world. And one thing they try to do is they try to get along so they don't get in too much trouble. And then this is my last point, and then I'll let you speak. Another element is, there was a large Irish immigrant population there, or it's still there. And these are immigrants who really some of them didn't achieve that American dream. You have generations of white people in the projects in Boston. So it's like, and they're part of the underworld, of course. So it's like a real mixed up gumbo of different cultures trying to make a good life for themselves. So they come to agreements. So that's why Benzino sounds that way, because he understands he's black. And then you have the criminal element from Ireland and Italy. So they just made certain agreements that I'm not privy to, but I know that a lot of my cousins started to work with people who are non-black American, and nobody cared, because as long as nobody's going to jail and they're making money, everything's good.
Yeah, because I was hearing a lot of spaces with Gucci. He says that when it comes to immigration, Black Americans can't do nothing about it. So it's best to just insulate the community and just build and
Who said this?
Gucci Bear.
Oh, Bucci. You're funny. Bucci.
And
Yeah.
he said that Black Americans should really advocate to have what is it called, illegal immigration from Africa and the Caribbean, because it will boost the numbers and get more, it will make the black voter base stronger. I don't know why he thinks like that.
The reason Bucci thinks that way is because Bucci lives in California, right? And they don't have a large black immigrant population. They have their pockets, but it's not like the East Coast. Actually, a majority of Americans live on the East Coast. That's just a reality, numerically speaking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. So he doesn't have that experience to know, it's not always about quantity. It's about quality, and he comes from a gangbanger background. And a long time ago, when it came to gangbanging, again, I don't know this world, but from the outside looking in, because I grew up in California too, it's like they started to put on just anybody to the set, because they thought the higher the numbers, the stronger they'll be. But then as time progressed, no, if you're just putting on anybody, then you got a bunch of rats, you got a bunch of weaklings, And so that's his mindset. His mindset is to think about things from a brute force angle. Like he thinks like you could hammer anything, out, or you could just use pure muscle and aggression and to solve your problem. And that sometimes will lead people to believe that that strength in numbers myth is true. And there is strength in numbers, but you have to vet people to get the numbers you need. And you can't just put anybody on or just accept anybody. That's not how things work, because sometimes it's not about inclusivity. Sometimes it's about exclusivity. And that's why he speaks that way. He just thinks if I just throw a bunch of black people here, then they'll get along. But see, the thing about Bucci, another thing he doesn't really talk about is the fact that in LA, the Ethiopians have a monopoly over parking lots. Like they've really come up. Like they even have a little Ethiopia. He'll never speak on that. Like he'll never speak on the fact that you say you're into Pan-Africanism, but how many parking lots do you own or do you have any partnerships with any of these Ethiopians who own parking lots? Since you want to be a Pan-Africanist, have you done that? No, you haven't, most likely. Okay.
Ethiopians are very big in DC as well. They're the largest.
Oh yeah. On U Street. Yeah, I know. I was on U Street, and it was kind of like wow, because I know Ethiopians has a very distinct look. You know that.
Right.
So here I could tell, like when I'm on U Street, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of them around here. Like, wow. And that's why I was like talking to Mouthy Macon the way I spoke to her, because she's from the DMV. And I'm like, how are you saying what I'm saying is wrong when U Street has a bunch of Ethiopians? So yeah.
Have you ever been to Seattle? Have you ever been to Seattle?
Yeah, a long time ago. I haven't been there in a long time. Man, what is it now?
Oh yeah,
2023?
there's a lot of us there.
There's a lot. It's a lot there, and that's because nobody wants to live in Seattle, man. Seattle is depressing. See that, and the thing about it is that's why I know why Afro Dumbass acts the way he acts. It's because he's in like this depressing environment where it's always dreary, and that's not an exaggeration. I've been up there several times, and each time I've gone up there in its different seasons, like the summertime too, it's dreary. So he's up there and there's been studies on this. Like people in Seattle suffer from a lot of depression because of that weather. It's just something that's been studied for years. I think let me look this up because I don't like to speak out of turn. Hold on.
And the homeless population is very bad there too.
Yeah, see, I haven't been there since that. See, when I was there, it wasn't that bad, but I have a homeboy that lives there. And actually, let me look that up. Yeah, huh? Yeah, see, it wasn't that bad when I visited there. But I have a homeboy that lives there, and yeah, he talks about it on Facebook.
And the swirling is very bad.
The what?
The swirling is very bad in Seattle.
I mean, you don't have much of a choice in Seattle, if you know what I'm saying. There are not that many black people there. That's just what it is. That's how it's always been. There aren't that many.
Because I do because I have a few family members up in Seattle, and
What's that?
I have a few family members who live in Seattle.
Yeah.
And they have there's like a few who have like half black American, half Somali kids. So you are seeing a lot of half FBA kids there now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How are their relationships? Are they good or what's going on?
For the most part, it's okay. But some are like rejected because they're Black American, and the Somali they're kind of like bums, man. They're like, oh, this shut-out baby, I don't want it. I'm like, dude, come on, bro.
But okay, so are they with FBA women or is it with FBA men? Like, what is?
No,
what is...
it's a combination of both. It's usually Somali women with Black American men, but you do have Somali men with Black American females.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
Southern Seattle, there's a lot there.
What's that again?
In Southern Seattle, that's where they have a lot of Black Americans and Somali.
Yeah, the southern part, you said?
Yeah.
But yeah, they pretty much priced out most black people out of Seattle. Because the person I'm referring to that lives there, he works for the government. So, so he most likely gets a lot of housing subsidies because they hook up government employees. But yeah, I'm looking at the pictures here and damn, yeah, it is bad.
because I know a couple of Somalis that used to live in Seattle, but then they had to move back to Minneapolis or they went to San Diego because
Mm-hmm.
the cost of living is too high. But uh, do a lot of the Black Americans who lived in Seattle, did they come back south?
Did they like one girl I knew, she actually moved to Nevada.
Oh,
I have relatives who from my father's side that lived up there. They moved to the South. Yeah, they went to Virginia because their father was Black American, so they went back down south. But for the people I know in Seattle, they went up there for jobs. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
or school. What those are one of those. That's one of the two reasons. It's either school or work, and that's why they're still there. You know. But for other
But did
people,
you review the video I sent you with
which
Papa
one?
Dumbass and
Yeah,
Ocean?
I got to get to that because I promise you I'm going to review it. It's just that I got caught up with these online. This guy called Green Gorilla. You know,
Oh,
I got
that
caught.
guy, yeah.
What's that?
The guy from Texas.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so yeah, you know him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did
Yeah,
a video.
I've
You
seen
know,
him.
I got caught up listening to that, responding to that, just getting lost in the madness. So I'm going to get to your video. I still have your comment, so I'll look at I'll find your comment, and then I think I
Oh,
saved the video actually.
you know, I actually messaged Willie D on Instagram, and I asked him why doesn't he and Scarface talk about the Nigerian presence in Houston, and he blocked me.
He blocked you?
Yeah, he blocked me on Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah. See what I was saying like a second ago about Benzino and the street element of Boston.
right.
The same thing will most likely play out in Houston the same way. You know, they're not going to talk about it, especially somebody like Willie D, because Willie D is known as a hustler. You know, he's known for making a good amount of money from his entrepreneurial you know moves. And yeah, and a lot of times these dudes are really looking to make money by any means necessary. And that means if that means selling out their people, they don't care. And then down in Texas or in the South, a lot of parts of the South, you still have that black white dynamic. Like it's very dichotomous. So that means like the black people down there still see the white man as the enemy, and that's it. You get what I'm saying? They don't realize that even though you can see that white man as your enemy, he will use whatever resources available to him to attack you. So that means who's a better resource than somebody who's in a tight position, and that is a lot of times immigrants. They're in tight positions. They can't really, be politically reliable because they could experience or they could be deported. They could experience a deportation. So they don't Willie D most likely is still thinking from a street angle. And that street angle says, hey, as long as this guy could do good business, I don't care. Like, let me give you a story as an example. I was in Boston with my cousin, and he used to sell cars. Like he'll go to the auction and then he'll sell the car. And he was there with his African mechanic friend. And I said, I didn't really care, but then I said to my cousin, I was like, dog, I said to him, so you work with this African guy? Why don't you just get a black American? And my cousin pretty much told me to shut up because he comes from that street element. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
My,
sir.
my cousin said something along the lines of, or something to the effect of, I don't care. It's all about this money, pretty much. I can't really quote him verbatim because sometimes he just says whatever. And I didn't really argue with him. But just to use my cousin as an example, that's how people like Willie D may see the situation. Like Green Gorilla spoke about this in one of his broadcasts about, having allies. And I understand that you can have allies, but what kind of allies do you have? Do you have allies that will one day usurp you, or one that will partner with you in the long run? Will they let their daughter date your son? or let your son, have a child with one of their sisters. Who knows? So, and honestly, that doesn't always happen. They should be guarded. They should be protective of their woman. That's understandable. I'm not gonna knock that. But what I am saying is those ties for the street guys is to focus on the street guys. These guys think this money in this business will be the ties that binds them to that other black group when that's not the case. And that's even evident in New York. A lot of these dudes who really like worked with the street element. I mean, how can I phrase this? A lot of the street guys who worked with the Caribbeans a long time ago, like in the 80s and 90s, were eventually pushed out of the business by the same Caribbeans that they partnered with. You get what I'm saying? So I mean, from what I've seen, it doesn't necessarily work out in the long run for the Black American. So when Willie D blocks you, he's pretty much saying, I don't want to hear that shit. That's pretty much what he's saying. And it's kind of ironic because I thought about that too. When I would see Willie D and Scarface speak what's the name of their podcast? I forgot the name of it. But Willie D they would talk about subjects, but Willie D's all revolutionary and pro-black, but he's coming from that 1960s, 70s angle. You get what I'm saying? He's not nuanced. So when I would watch his podcast with Scarface, I'm like, yeah, why don't they ever talk about the Nigerians, or just talk about how their environment is changing? Because I know their environment is changing. I know that for a fact. So why aren't they talking about this? And like I suspect, is most likely because they feel like these Africans have something to offer them, but they don't realize they don't mess with you unless you have something that's more valuable than what they have to offer. And that's business. That's not even personal. That's business. But Somali, I have to get out of here.
Okay. Can I just ask one more question, brother?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why is a lot of black immigrants afraid of Tariq? What is it about his rhetoric or his stance being pro-black American that scares them? Because as a Somali, I'm actually not offended by what he says when he's defending his group.
I'll answer that. You want me to stay on the line? Look here, Tariq is a very, polarizing figure. On one hand, he's entertaining. On the other hand, he's a lightning rod. So Tariq, and he's super petty. He is Mr. Petty Pendergrass. He is petty. So and he never he doesn't offer any concessions. He doesn't say, hey, I stand my ground, but I agree with you on this part and that part. He never does that. He'll do that. Like he did, actually, let me correct myself. He did that with Professor James Small recently, in a live broadcast. He deferred to Professor James Small. He didn't punk out, but he stood his ground, but he still deferred to Professor James Small. So to get back to why people may dislike Tariq stands his ground a little too hard sometimes. And Tariq, he knows how to crack jokes. He could crack a joke and he's witty. It's not like, and one thing about Tariq that most likely gives him an advantage over a lot of people is the fact that he said he's never had a drink or smoked in his life. So that means he's sharp. Like even in his old years, he's still sharp, and he has years of experience, years of knowledge, and he's comical. So that pisses them off. And also, one thing about Tariq that I think a lot of black immigrants, I think one of the reasons a lot of black immigrants don't like Tariq is because they've witnessed his success rate. He has a high success rate. It's like whatever he's done, it's succeeded. He doesn't have too many failures on his scorecard, or he doesn't have too many losses on his scorecard. Like he had the More Us rap. That was the More, I think it was More Us. Yes, MOORUS. It was an act.
Right.
That failed. You know, what else did he have that failed?
They said like the houses for Haiti.
What's that?
He had something for it was called like houses for Haiti.
Oh yeah, the houses for Haiti. Yeah. So yeah, see these are his losses. So yeah, he has losses on his record. So yes, but when it comes to his success rate, it's pretty high compared to his losses, if that makes any sense.
But
So
was his beef with Gucci like going to court, was that a win for Gucci? Because Gucci saying that he won.
No, that's a loss for Bucci. So, see, thing about that is now Bucci's on file as someone who could harass people. So, if Bucci steps out of line with somebody else, or if he like you remember how he went to the protest with, I think her name is Connie Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if he does something like that again, there's something on file that shows, hey, this guy has a pattern. He's not
And
just a what's that?
oh no, and also she said that he put her life in danger
Whose
because
life?
she because I think before he actually went to that rally, he was like disrespecting her, calling her a whore, and
Oh, really? He called her a
yeah,
whore?
he called her a whore and all these things
Wow.
just because she's not for black immigrants being in black American spaces.
Oh,
But
see, I didn't know that part. He called her a whore on a live stream or
yeah,
where?
and also he like kind of like issued threats to her for like gangbangers in Los Angeles to like harm her. So she's very upset with this guy.
See what I'm saying? So now that see, I didn't know that part because I kind of like ignore stuff after a certain point. Like I may take a peek at something and then I have other shit to do, so I don't continue watching. See, I didn't know that part. I didn't know he called her out her name and threatened her. See, that's what I'm saying. Even though Bucci may consider his win in court with Tariq as a win, but it's really not a win. They are showing a pattern of behavior, and that will make him a pariah even in his Pan-African circles. They'll say, "Hey, you're too much of a liability."
Yeah,
Even like you're too rogue. So see, I didn't know he called her out of her name. See, that's the reason why I don't know Bucci personally. None of us know each other personally. Okay,
yeah,
but from his online persona, it seems like he needs some medication or something. It's because it's like he's just off, and it seems like I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to say drugs because I don't know, but Bucci he doesn't know how to control himself.
right.
You could tell like from what I've heard or from what he's shared, he was raised by his grandparents or something.
Yeah, because
And,
his dad's in prison for life.
yeah, see, so he was most likely coddled. He was most likely babied his whole life, and he was like one thing that grandparents do. I think is an old expression. I'm not going to recall that expression right now because I can't remember the exact wording. But pretty much all grandparents baby their grandchildren. That's like a known fact across all cultures and all races. You don't like grandparents don't treat their grandchildren the way they treated their child. That's
Right.
just that's just what it is. So I think for him, that's probably what happened. I think his grandparents may have let him be too expressive, too vocal, and that's the way he was raised, just to say whatever he wants or to say whatever's on his mind. Whereas for other people who weren't raised that way, we're mindful of our words. Even when I'm speaking right now, I'm thinking ahead of what I say. Whereas with him, he just runs his mouth. He doesn't even think before he speaks.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully I answered your Tariq question. Did I answer it sufficiently?
Yeah, you did a very good job.
Thank you, man.
Because the thing is that we need you in these spaces to be a counter to this constant attack. There has to be a counter to it, because this propaganda is getting very, very bad.
Yeah, and that's the only reason I even entered this space, is because I think I have a unique voice. You know, I really thought somebody else would take hold of this and really iron out all of the wrinkles, or do something to get us back on track to at least having some type of peace among each other. But yeah, I'm definitely going to stay in this space. But I want to thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you so much.
And and you're gonna make me set up a schedule to really, make sure I have a regular live stream.
Yeah. So, do you know for the so are you gonna review both videos that I suggested to you?
Yeah, you know what you can do for me, please?
Okay.
In this video, can you put the titles of the videos again? Because I could go find them, but I just want to make it easy so I could.
Okay. I'll put it in the comment section for this stream.
Yeah, do that for me. So
Okay.
thank you, sir, and take
Okay.
care. Have a good night.
Peace.
Peace. Peace. Okay, here we go. That was my first live stream. Wow, we spoke for an hour and 26 minutes. Wow. Thank you, my man, Mr. Somali against Pan-Africanism. Yeah, you're a cool guy, man. You have a lot of questions. But man, yeah, hook up your phone. Like, work out your phone. That's static. I don't even know how this is going to sound in the playback. But yeah, thank you for staying on with me. And, we worked with each other, and I appreciate that. This was actually a snapshot of Pan-Africanism. Not Peter Pan-Africanism, not that fantasy shit, but Pan-Africanism. If it ever were to exist, we got along, we worked it out. We just had like a one-on-one conversation where we're not bickering and arguing. We're sharing ideas and just building. And that's why I'm here. I'm not here to bicker and argue necessarily, but I ain't gonna let a motherfucker talk shit to me, man. I don't play that shit. But that's neither here nor there. And I'm not referring to you, Somali, against Pan-Africanism. I'm speaking in general. So yeah, man, that was a beautiful exchange, man. And I'm gonna set up a schedule. I'm gonna chart out a calendar and make sure I stick to it. But this was a beautiful experience. So I want to say, hey, thank you for anyone who's watching or anyone who's going to watch the video. And hey, leave your comments in the comment section. Like, comment, share. Do what you got to do for your Playboy partner.